Shri Shri Gaunitai ki jai. Shiva Jaya Jaya Gaurachande Gita Shobha.
Shiva Jaya Jaya Gaurachande Arati Shobha Jai
Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajakaacharya Stotra Sadashi Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyamakunda Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Shri Mathura Dham ki jai. Shri Navdev Dham ki jai. Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai. Ganga Mai ki jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Samveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Gaura Premanande. All glories to the Summa devotees. All glories to the Summa devotees. All glories to the Summa devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Namaste Narasimhaya.
Pradadoladaine. Hiranyakashipurvakshaha. Narsimhadev Jayo, Narsimhadev Jayo, Narsimhadev Jayo, Narsimhadev. Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj, Jayo Prahlad Maharaj. Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Jayo Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada.
Lord Nrsimhadev ki jai, Prahlad Maharaj ki jai. Thank you everyone for coming. Although it is just pouring outside, still you made it. Thank you so much. Can you all please move forward because we are expecting more devotees to come, so that they will not disturb you and they will feel comfortable to sit, to find a place. Thank you. And is there anybody here for the first time? Your name?
Sai.
Sorry?
Sai. S-A-I.
Sai, welcome. Welcome. Thank you. And welcome back everybody else. Today, you must have seen in the posters and in our weekly bulletin that we have a special guest. His Grace Anuttama Prabhu. Let's all welcome him. Anuttama Prabhu is an initiated practitioner in ISKCON. He chose this path, spiritual path, when he first got the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the books displayed here. We have 18 books. He got one of those books, and when he was doing his college in British Columbia, Kelowna University, he got this book by some devotees, and he read that book, and he got serious about it. He chose this path, and since then he has been practicing Krishna consciousness, and he also graduated from GBC College's Zonal Supervisor Training in 2021. So GBC, as you know, what is a governing body commission? It is the highest managing authority within ISKCON. You know, ISKCON has, how many branches do we have? Too many. That's too many to remember. We have center in each and every major city and town in the whole world. Asia, all North America, South America, Russia, China, Hong Kong. There's so many centers. So the GBC is the highest managing authority of the institution, and it gives several training sessions. And Prabhu, His Grace Anuttama Prabhu, please come, Prabhu, please come. Anuttama Prabhu, he graduated from GBC College's Zonal Supervisor Training. And since then, he has also been serving as Zonal Duty Officer for Book Distribution across Canada. So what he does is, he goes from center to center, and he encourages devotees what is the significance of these books. Books written, these are not ordinary books, we say books, but these are really revealed scriptures. They were put into the text form 5,000 years ago in Sanskrit, and then they were kindly translated into many languages by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. And Prabhu goes from center to center, encourages devotees to study the books and also distribute them. So we are really grateful that he lives in Toronto area, and he came all the way, took out all the time, and came here to encourage us to get these books and study these books and also distribute them. This is the highest welfare work one can do to the humanity. So let us all encourage him, welcome him. Thank you.
Yeah. Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Well, thank you for coming on this rainy day, and thank you for having me. There's definitely a lot of visitors in the summer that visit our temples, and usually it's hard to, there's a lot of visitors from either the US or India, and they usually occupy a lot of space for the Sunday Feast program, but thank you for asking me to come here and be part of your program and to get some Sankirtan going and continuing that energy here. And we'll begin with a chant, Jai Radha Madhava, and the translation is Krishna is the lover of Radha. He performs amorous pastimes in Vrindavan. He is the lover of the cowherd damsels of Braja. He is the lifter of the hill named Govardhana. He is the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, and he can be seen performing pastimes along the banks of the river Yamuna. So that's the English translation. And I always like to do the English translation because Sunday Feast lectures are not meant to be complicated. They're meant to be very simple so that a person coming here for the first time or their 100th time should find it both enlightening and useful, and try and make it as relatable. As part of the GBC College training, there are these course modules called Bhakti Habitats West and Bhakti Habitats East. So how Krishna consciousness is presented in the East may be different from how it's presented here. So we have to just be a little bit mindful to make sure that they're more relatable with English translations and making some of the Sanskrit prayers a bit shorter so that it doesn't go on and on. All right. So you can call on this once. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. 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 Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Giridhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. with a series of prayers, followed by their English translation prior to the discourse. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and the spiritual master opened my eyes from tortured knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Srinivani Pashyata Desha Pranine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Krishna, having taken shelter of His feet. O Master, our obeisances unto you, servant of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami. You're kindly preaching the message of Lord Chaitanya Deva in the Western countries, which is full of voyism and impersonalism. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas, and all others in the line of devotion. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Alright, Hare Krishna, everyone. It's good to be here with you all, and some of you know from a few years ago, right, Prabhu? We did the discourse and wrote at Prabhu Rui, so it's really nice. And Shankha, we go back many years. I remember her playing Mridanga for the 6-hour kirtan. Usually her parents organize that, and I know her family really well. And spending so many hours doing cut up in the kitchen, cutting potatoes, and cutting it a certain way. So I have a lot of memories with you and your sister Nani. So it's really good to see you. It's good to see you as well. What's your name? Ava. Okay, nice to see you. Is it you've been here before, right? Yes. So I met Ava in Halifax last year. Actually, at the exact same time. So probably exactly 1 year ago, as Krishna makes an arrangement, we were both distributing books at the book table in Halifax. We set up a book table with the stacks. And as soon as I brought this stack, there was this gentleman from Nepali background, and he just took the stack immediately. And I was like, we've just arranged the books, and he's just come to take it. So thank you so much for bringing the Nepali community to ISKCON Halifax. It's a nice church property they have, so it's really cool with Shishi Gornitai deities, which is also very nice. So that's another temple with Shishi Gornitai deities as the main deities, and the temple president there is focused on making sure the congregation gets attached to Shishi Gornitai. It's a very, very nice mood. So yeah, it's good to see you. I have a picture of you and saved in our Century Center book, so it's very nice. All right, so today I've been asked to give a discourse. Hopefully it is clear. So I'm going to be reading from Bhagavad Gita, and we'll go through a series of, commentaries on wisdom and how that's really prevalent. And Bhagavad Gita, as it is a wisdom book that we distribute quite often. In my university, they had a copy of this in the library, so when I would take study breaks from my engineering courses, I would read the Bhagavad Gita. It was a 1972, big, bulky version, and I would just take a break and read it. So it's a really wonderful book, but I actually like the Srimad Bhagavatam more because it is stories and philosophy mixed. So it's a little bit more easier to digest. Whereas I found Bhagavad Gita, you can meditate on one verse forever. But both are transcendental, but we can have our favorites on literatures. So the Bhagavad Gita has an introduction, which is quite important because it sets the right mood. Because sometimes it's not what you learn, but how you learn it. And this sets the right mood. So there's a paragraph in the introduction that I will read. And if you have your cell phones with you, if you can put them on silent, please, I would appreciate it so it's not distracting while I talk. All right. So it says, the forgetful living entities or conditioned soul have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord, and they're engrossed in thinking of material activities. Just to transfer their thinking power to the spiritual sky, Krishna Dvaipanyana Vyasa has given a great number of Vedic literatures. First, he divided the Vedas into 4. Then he explained them in the Puranas. And for less capable people, he wrote the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there is given the Bhagavad Gita, and then all Vedic literature is then summarized in the Vedanta Sutra. And for future guidance, he gave natural commentation on the Vedanta Sutra called Srimad Bhagavatam. We, this is very important, we must always engage our minds in reading these Vedic literatures, just as materialists engage their minds in reading newspapers, magazines, and so many materialistic literatures. We must transfer our reading to these literatures which are given to us by Vyasadeva. In that way, it will be possible for us to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. So that's one paragraph from Bhagavad Gita as it is. And I always found this very profound because what is the purpose of these literatures? Why did Srila Prabhupada spend a couple of hours sleeping at night and then waking up and translating? Because he really wanted the wisdom Krishna spoke to make it accessible for everyone in the form of Bhagavad Gita. And also, Vyasadeva was a sage who could see the past, present, and the future, not different from Vishnu himself, the literary incarnation of the Lord. He wrote these literatures in his maturity, and he had divided the four Vedas, written 108 Upanishads. He wrote all the 18 Puranas, but still he was not happy. And then his spiritual teacher, Narad Muni, said, "It's because you haven't written about Krishna." And that's why he wrote the Bhagavatam. So the Bhagavatam is written in the maturity of Srila Vyasadeva. And since Srila Vyasadeva is recommending us this literature for Kali Yuga, it's our best medicine that we can drink is the Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita tells you what to do, the Bhagavatam tells you how to do it. The reason why we need that is because we always need tangible examples. Right? For example, if I'm in university and I'm learning something theoretical, sometimes there may be a lab component where I learn something practically in a lab or doing things in a practical manner. Experimentation. So both are important. And we are followers of not just jnana but vijnana, which means applied knowledge, not just armchair knowledge where you speak philosophically, but we cannot practically enact it. So the Srimad Bhagavatam has examples of devotees who went through difficulties, right? So who here is going through difficulties in life? Raise your hand. Yes, almost all of you raised your hand. So that is the nature of being in this material world. And the Bhagavatam also has examples of devotees who go through difficulties. But the way they go, instead of, Chaitanya Charan Prabhu, who's one of our, scholar devotees in our movement, he mentions that instead of going through difficulties, we should be growing through those difficulties. So the Bhagavatam teaches us how practitioners persevere through difficult times and how they increase their devotion towards Krishna. So that's very important because if we don't have a tangible relationship and example, then how can we really understand how to apply it? So this is a very important point. So, for example, even in our Krishna consciousness movement, it's not just Krishna, but we have Srila Prabhupada and the holy teachers, because they're practically giving a way in which we can understand and practice Krishna consciousness. So that practicality is very important because otherwise it just seems that only Krishna's and Goloka and what are we doing here? So we may feel a bit bewildered. So now I'm going to jump to Bhagavad Gita, chapter 3, verse 5. So I will be going through a few texts here to showcase the point on wisdom that I've sort of extracted. So text 5 says, "Everyone is forced to act helplessly according to the qualities he has acquired from the modes of material nature. Therefore, no one can refrain from doing something, not even from a moment." And then there's a couple of lines in the purport that I found very key. It says, "As such, the spirit soul has to be engaged in the good work of Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it will be engaged in the occupations dictated by the illusory energy. In contact with material energy, the spirit soul acquires the material modes, and to purify the soul from such affinities, it is necessary to engage in the prescribed duties enjoined in the Shastras. So it is said here that we have to act in this world. We cannot choose inaction. Oftentimes people say, I want to give up everything, I want to give up my job and find a spiritual situation that I can be in. And then my response to that is, you're kind of stuck in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. You're not thinking that, here Krishna is giving Arjuna advice and telling Arjuna that think of me in the form of Krishna and fight. So people think that they have to give up their jobs or give up their education and go for, a completely monastic lifestyle. Well, it's not for everyone. And Arjuna wanted to do it as a warrior. And Krishna forbade him from doing that. So therefore, when we consider our life, we consider our skills, when we consider our God-given resources, we should see how we can use that in Krishna's service instead of just giving that up. Because there are two types of renunciation. One is yukta vairagya, another is phalgu vairagya. And why renunciation is important is because it's good to be detached from things that give us misery, like materialistic activities. But to consider one thing materialistic, for example, Srila Prabhupada would always give the example of this microphone. This microphone may be produced in a factory and mass produced for sale, but we in the temple are using this particular microphone in spiritual service by singing kirtan, bhajans, and giving spiritual discourses. So even though these are material things, we're using them in Krishna's service. Or if we have a vehicle, we're using that in Krishna's service by come here. So we should think of these things as how these things that are around me, how can I really use them in Krishna's service? So that's the key thing that we need to make. And the Shastras or the Vedic literatures give us the sort of prescription on what to do. Just like we may be prescribed certain activities to do, by our parents or by, people in university, or maybe a doctor is prescribing us to go and get more exercise. So the prescription, the panacea for Kali Yuga, is by reading Srimad Bhagavatam, we know what is to be done and what is not to be done. And how can we be spiritual on this path? Otherwise, the material energy engulfs the living entity. So who here has been to a beach? Raise your hand. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. So when you're on the beach, there is sand that's always dry, right? And then there's sand that's underneath the water. But then there is the part of the sand where the water goes on it, and then it goes back, and there's sun. Is that clear? So just let's focus on that aspect of the sand that has some water on it, so it's a little bit more firm, it's a little easier to walk on. So that particular analogy is described to be like us. We can be influenced by spiritual energy, or we can be influenced by material energy. So you consider material energy like the ocean that's coming, and the spiritual energy to be like the sun. This is known as the technical term is the Tapasta Shakti. So we have this sway. Either we can be spiritual or we can be materialistic. So ultimately, Krishna gives us a choice on what we want to do. But Krishna says we cannot be without activity even for a moment. So what Srila Prabhupada is recommending here is we spiritualize our activities by knowing what's in the literatures. We can know how to act and perceive things in this world and be yet completely spiritual. That's the beauty, is we can be in a material world but live in a spiritual manner because of the examples given in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So another example from Bhagavatam I can say is, when we join our hands and we say Namaste, just like we chanted Namaste Narasimhaya, what does Namaste mean? Tell me.
I bow down to the Supreme in you.
I bow down to the Supreme in you. Okay, that's a very good answer. Anybody else?
The light in me bows down to the light in you.
Okay, the light in me bows down to the light in you. Yeah, a couple of good answers. Anyone from here?
I pray for you.
I pray for you. Okay. So it's interesting. The second kind of Bhagavatam, it is given. Hare Krishna. Good to see you. Is your name Ram Paul?
Yes.
Oh, good with memory.
Very special Prabhu.
I remember you, yeah. So yes, so at the back, Canto 2 says that I offer my respectful obeisances unto the super soul, Paramatma, within the other person. So the Bhagavatam gives us this knowledge, and it's very profound. So therefore, we should take a little dose, just like we want to get outside when it's sunny. Today is a bad example of that, but get some sun, get some fresh air. It's good. It's really therapeutic for us to be there. So therefore, for us to get some information from Bhagavatam, it's a cleansing of the consciousness. Just like we have to brush our teeth, take a shower, you know, getting absorbed in mantra, and mantra that has been written down and passed down, is really there to help us. And these books, as I was reading earlier, it's not like a magazine or a newspaper where you read it once. How much can you read one thing again and again? But the quality of spirit is such that you never get tired. For example, chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, right? You don't get tired of it. Why? Because it's spiritual sound vibration. Similarly, Bhagavatam is also spiritual sound vibration. There's actually three forms of knowledge. One is inference and logic, that you make some logic, you make some analysis. Another is analyzing matter. So you analyze, for example, the elements, you analyze your body, how the organs work, how do diseases form, how to get rid of them, material knowledge. So that's two. The third aspect of knowledge is one is Shabda, which comes from a higher plane coming down. And that is what spiritual knowledge is. Like, how can you imagine the Bhagavatam existed and was written down in a time where there were no telescopes, no microscopes, no scanning machines, and yet it's able to give detailed descriptions on the universe. It's able to say the lowest denomination of matter is atoms. It's able to give descriptions of the baby in the womb. So all these different examples exist because the Bhagavatam itself is a transcendental literature, that which comes beyond this world. And it's coming to us, and Srila Vyasadeva is giving that to us, and we just have to accept it as it is. That is the beauty of literatures. So therefore, it's recommended that we spend at least 5 to 15 minutes anywhere around there to read spiritual literatures, because it really cleanses the consciousness. So we'll move to chapter 3, verse 31. And a question is, who here wants to be free from karma? Raise your hands. Okay, a lot of you. So what does Krishna say about it? So those persons who execute their duties according to my injunctions and who follow this teaching faithfully without envy becomes free from the bondage of fruitive actions. Here Krishna says that those who follow these teachings faithfully will be free from the bondage of karma. So in order to follow the teachings, we should know what the teachings are. So if we are getting more familiarized with the teachings, we can follow it more and more. And without envy means, for example, if I'm taking a course or a class and there's a professor there who's learned it for many years, and I'm sitting there saying, I know more than you, right? With that sort of attitude, you're never going to learn. So therefore, Krishna recommends that when there is a great master or mystic person, or Krishna himself giving knowledge, we must at least be open-minded to hear what Krishna is saying, right? Otherwise, if you're envious, then Krishna may say, okay, well, I'm not going to release this knowledge to you, because Krishna says, only through devotion you get to know me. So we have to have some level of interest in understanding this, so that we can taste the richness of the wisdom. So that is that. Another one, we move on to chapter 17, verse 15, which is one of the verses that I actually gave a talk on in a yoga studio in Cochrane, Alberta, which is a small town, very conservative town, and it was like minus 25 degrees Celsius. This was back in 2020, and I gave a talk, and people were really interested in Bhagavad Gita after that. So here it talks about, I'll read a translation and purport. If I have a volunteer here who can time, maybe have a stopwatch. Any volunteers? Okay, so Shankar can do it. So I will, okay, begin. Austerity of speech consists in speaking words that are truthful, pleasing, beneficial, and not agitating to others, and also in regularly reciting Vedic literature. One should not speak in a way as to agitate the minds of others. Of course, when a teacher speaks, he can speak the truth for the instruction of his students. But such a teacher should not speak to those who are not his students, if he will agitate their minds. This is penance as far as talking is concerned. Besides that, one should not talk nonsense. The process of speaking in spiritual circles is to say something upheld by the scriptures. One should at once quote from scriptural authority to back up what he is saying. At the same time, such talk should be very pleasurable to the ear. By such discussions, one may derive the highest benefit and elevate human society. There is a limitless stock of Vedic literatures, and one should study this. This is called penance of speech. So, what was the time there?
A minute 13.
A minute 13, right? So, oftentimes when you're in book distribution, people say they don't have time to read. They don't have the energy or the effort. They come up with all these excuses because the mind is trying to dissuade you from pursuing anything spiritual. Why? Because, again, going back to the beach, we're the marginal energy. We can be influenced by Krishna or we could be influenced by Maya. And it's just that simple. And ultimately, we have to choose, do we want, either we serve Krishna, and if we don't serve Krishna, we're actually serving Maya. Oftentimes people think that, why should I, observe these diets and regulations? Why should I have devotion to Krishna? Well, if you don't devote yourself to Krishna, you'll devote yourself to Maya. So it's not that you're completely free. You will be a slave to your senses instead of being a master to your senses. And why engage in activities that make you think that my happiness is based on external things? Right? When we read more and more and we absorb the spiritual wisdom more and more, we feel more and more liberated, and we feel more gratitude, and then we feel supremely connected. And that's what everyone wants, is relationship. As Srila Prabhupada was mentioning, we forget our relationship, so we are here to be reminded our relationship. So if we analyze the rain, for example, so the raindrops are coming from the sky, and they're going to touch the sidewalk and the roads and stuff. So is that water, is that getting cleaner or is it getting dirtier? It's getting dirtier. So the example that Srila Prabhupada gives, and also His Holiness Radhanath Swami mentions this as well, is when a drop falls down and touches the ground, then it gets polluted, right? It gets dirty. Then you take that same drop and put it through a filter, right? There's a lot of these camping videos where people are putting dirty water and it's getting somewhat purified. When it gets purified, that water comes to its original quality. So that purification is our spiritual process of hearing and chanting, doing our mantra meditation, reading some wisdom. This is what's going to help us get to our soul level constitutional position. Otherwise, we're serving the material energy. So this is a wonderful analogy. Another analogy is, so here it says, for example, Bhagavad Gita as it is, right? So it's preserving the knowledge in its most authentic form. And the example I like to give is because I used to live in Calgary, is we have, a glacier-fed river, the Bow River. So if I go to the Bow Glacier and take one of these containers, put it under the glacier water, and I put this cap on, I have glacier water. So this way, I pass this to, the devotees here, right? So I pass it to Maruta, he passes it to somebody else, you pass it to somebody else. Does that quality remain the same? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes? So I'll drink some water. Okay, so yes, everybody? Now let's take that same water in the river form. So it comes from the Bow Glacier, goes through Banff and Canmore, these are the towns in Alberta, Cochrane, Calgary. After Calgary, I will go take this, go into the Bow River, scoop it out. Will this second container be the same quality as the first container?
No,
No. Okay, why not?
because it went through the cities where there's pollution and it picked up whatever's in the river.
Yes. So just to repeat, so the water went through the cities with pollution and it picked up whatever's in the river. So that is the difference between following Krishna consciousness in a disciplic succession, or known as sampradaya, versus, hey, I worship Krishna and there's no spiritual teachers and tradition. So in the Bhagavad Gita, we read that, okay, well, Krishna gave this knowledge, to various different entities throughout time, and they've passed this knowledge painstakingly, generation after generation. So when we think about ISKCON, we have a lot of embassies in Ottawa, right? So it's the embassy for the spiritual world, where we are trying to showcase and preserve a tradition that comes from Krishna, and it is like taking the glacier water from the glacier and passing that down, instead of some tradition that we don't have a chain or succession. It's like picking up water down Calgary, where, yeah, there's some goodness in it, but it's contaminated with some selfishness, some envy, some different interpretation. So that's the analogy that I like to state, is the purity is maintained in the Sampradaya tradition. So not only the Bhagavatam and the Gita, not only are we sharing Krishna's words, but Srila Prabhupada painstakingly spent time at night going over the commentary of the previous holy teachers. What did they say? What did Sridhar Swami say on the commentary of Bhagavatam? And they go through that, and Srila Prabhupada's purports construct all these different commentaries by the different teachers, like the Goswami. So very well read, very well scholarly, and they've given that to us. So we should be considered very fortunate that we're here in Ottawa and we have access to such literature that come in disciplic succession, and these centers are the embassies of the spiritual world. Isn't that magnificent? Maybe 150 years ago, if you were in Bengal, it would be very hard for you to get one set of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Imagine that. 150 years ago, if you're kind of in the Bengal, Bangladesh area, one set of Chaitanya Charitamrita, very difficult to find. But now we have this explosion where we have, Chaitanya Charitamrita sets, Bhagavatam sets in all different corners of the world. And when we do Guru Puja for Srila Prabhupada, it's to show that gratitude of how much he's done for us. And this institution, the fact that we have this place, the teachings, the practice, it's only because of Srila Prabhupada. So therefore, the gratitude comes from within to showcase that we are really, really grateful. In this way, we are connected. So one last thing is, it took about 1 minute and 13 seconds. So who here has 1 minute and 13 seconds? Raise your hand. Yeah. So reading Bhagavad Gita, just a verse, a purport. Some purports will be long, some purports will be short. It doesn't take too much. And oftentimes the mind gives us an excuse. So what we must do is just take a step with our foot and say, you know what, before going to bed, I'm going to read a little Bhagavad Gita. I'm not going to make any excuses that, okay, the sun is not in the right spot, I'm not pure enough, my house is in a mess, Like, Krishna doesn't care. We put on all these excuses. This is not right, that is not right. No, just read this. Read this in whatever language that you're more comfortable with. And read it with people in your household. Discuss it. Because it gives the internal cleansing that we really need. And ultimately, we go to chapter 18, verse 70. So that's the fifth verse that I'm going to share today. So we talked about austerity as a speech, which means we should regularly recite Vedic literature or read. Like Vaisheshika Prabhu has a program called Chapter a Day of Bhagavad Gita. You just read the translations every day and you get connected. But make a vow. Just like we make a vow to wake up in the morning, brush our teeth, shower, we should take a vow on reading literatures, because otherwise we're just really missing out on the true essence of life. So here Krishna says,
What is the number? Sorry.
1870. So when we worship the deities here, what articles do we use to worship the deities?
Flower, incense, ghee.
Yeah, so flower, incense, ghee lamps. Anything else? How do we worship the deities? Any other articles? Yeah, so the fan, we fan the deities. So how do we use our mind and worship the deities? So Krishna says, and I declare that he who studies the sacred conversation of ours worships me by his intelligence. So Krishna says, if we study this conversation, it's like taking our mind and, worshipping Krishna that way. So when we understand this conversation of the Bhagavatam and the Gita, consider that as worship of Krishna on a daily basis by reading this knowledge. And that's very important. So when we understand about Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement, because here we are here in the temple of Sri Sri Gaur Nitai, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Vaisheshika Prabhu says, who's our global minister for book distribution, that the Krishna consciousness movement comes down to two things. So you can repeat after me. One is chant Hare Krishna.
Chant Hare Krishna.
And then number two is teach it to others.
Teach it to others.
Okay, chant Hare Krishna.
Chant Hare Krishna.
Teach it to others. So these are the two aspects. So Krishna mentions as Chaitanya that Jare Deko Tare Ko Krishna Upadesh, which means wherever you go, wherever you see, try and share the message of Krishna, because it's a good message to help people. Yesterday I met a lady named Wanda, and she deals with people who have mental health challenges. So when she comes back from work, she's really overwhelmed because she's dealing with a lot of patients, and she's overwhelmed. And she says, what's a good way for me to unwind and calm down? And I mentioned that if you read some of our literatures, some of our basic literatures like Heading on Natural Happiness or Bhagavad Gita, you spend 10 minutes a day just meditating on this. It'll help you calm down and de-stress from a situation that you were in, which is quite intense. So we, as practitioners of Krishna consciousness, are not satisfied by having a temple program and, praising each other. But rather, we should also go out there and share Krishna consciousness in ways so that other people have access. One of the prayers to offer respects to the Vaishnavas mentions that Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah, which means people who may not have any knowledge of karma or higher Vedic knowledge or wisdom, to give them sort of a way in which they can get access to this higher wisdom is the highest, humanitarian service. So Krishna also mentions that Bolo Krishna, Bhaja Krishna, Karo Krishna Shiksha, which means speak about Krishna, worship Krishna, and instruct others in the signs of Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave this instruction to Haridas Thakur, Nityananda Prabhu, to go and do that. So if he's giving instruction to a great teacher like Haridas Thakur or Nityananda Prabhu, who are great personalities, divine personalities, what to speak of us? So we as Vaishnavas, so Vaishnavas means followers of Vishnu, if Vishnu is distributing knowledge, So as Vaishnavas, we should also help in distributing that knowledge. Otherwise, how can we truly be Vaishnavas? So Vaishnavas always are giving. And there's various other ways of giving. And I've listed 7 ways of how you can give. Okay? Some might surprise you. So Krishna mentions that Jivera Swarupoy Krishna Nityadas, that everyone is a servant of actually Krishna, not servant of the material energy. So do you want to hear what the 7 ways are?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. 1, has anyone seen Comic-Con? Does anyone know what it is?
No.
No? Who knows Comic-Con? So maybe Shankar can explain what's Comic-Con.
I think it's people gather together about, I think there's like dresses, they dress up in certain characters that are
Okay.
from comic books.
Comic books, yeah. So Shankar's response for those who weren't able to hear. So maybe they exist probably in Montreal, they have a Comic-Con where people dress up as these sort of characters like Superman and Batman, and they're all fanatics of these particular characters. But these characters are fictional characters. But we have real, superheroes like Narasimha and Lord Chaitanya, and in order for us to be a follower of them, whatever they've spoken, whatever they've written, we should try and subscribe to. Just like these people will, convert their whole basements and, get a whole wardrobe, spend thousands of dollars doing this. We should think of ourselves as followers of Krishna and distribute this knowledge. And who's the first person we distribute this knowledge to?
Krishna?
Thousands.
To ourselves, Krishna? Yes, so we distribute Krishna's knowledge to ourselves. So that's the first person. So just like Shankar mentioned the example, these people dress in these costumes for these things. Similarly, we should think, okay, we are followers of Srila Prabhupada, we are followers of Krishna. So therefore, in my house, whether it's an apartment, townhouse, or home, we should make sure we should get a full library of Srila Prabhupada's books. Because that ultimately shows Srila Prabhupada's gratitude to Krishna and Srila Prabhupada. Otherwise, we can spend our wealth in so many different ways which may not purify us. But to give to the literatures of the Vaishnava is extremely, extremely purifying. That's why when we are on book distribution, we always ask for a donation, even if it's just a little bit, because it helps a person who might normally would put their money in activities that cause a lot of bad karma, that gives them up karma, free from karma. So that's the whole transcendental exchange where they get some knowledge and the donations they give is more to benefit them than us. So to get a whole set of Srila Prabhupada's books at home is very, very important. So who here has a full set of Srila Prabhupada's books at home? Raise your hand. Okay, curious. So please consider my request that you should have Srila Prabhupada's books at home, because that really shows you your gratitude to the parampara system. And it's really there, Krishna's coming home, and he is there to enliven you. And these books, as I mentioned, they're not like a novel where you read them and you leave it away. But this is like a living and breathing book, which means if you're going through a crisis, if some family member passes away, or maybe your performance at work wasn't very good, or you felt like there were some challenges you're facing, you open up any of these literatures, I guarantee it because I've experienced it so many times, that it's Krishna talking to you and guiding you in the particular circumstances you're in. And it's just such a magical, mystical experience that I may have read that verse several times, maybe last year or a couple of years ago, but when I read it again, it's as if Krishna is just talking to me and really helping me in sort of the bad situation I'm in. So the first is to distribute books to yourself, being a follower of Krishna and not having Krishna's literatures doesn't really mean anything. Like before I got married, that we had to do this couples retreat and premarital education. So as part of premarital education, we had to put together our couple values. And one of the values that says, okay, spirituality is number one. But then if I say that's the number one value, and health is number two, and I don't devote my time to spirituality or my health, then what's the meaning of putting a value, right? It has no meaning. Similarly, if you consider that, okay, I'm a follower of Krishna, I practice Krishna consciousness, at least support by getting a whole set of Srila Prabhupada's books home, so that you're showcasing this is what you support. So the second is, who here lives in a home? Question. So apartment, townhouse, nobody's living in a forest here? No Avadut Brahmins who live in forests. So if you live in a home, you can use your home in Krishna's service. Consider the Krishna the center of your home, and it'll give you a lot of relief from anxiety. You can occasionally host a program at home, a gathering, where you bring people who are not exposed, don't know about Krishna consciousness. You have a nice kirtan, a little talk, a little kirtan, and then have some sanctified food. Have a book table. You're an agent in sharing Krishna consciousness. We have to be a little creative because, as you know, the warm weather that we have doesn't last very long. And we have to be a little creative in how we share Krishna consciousness. So therefore, when we look at our home and say our home can be an agent towards showcasing Krishna consciousness, we should do it because that's our way to contributing towards society. And you can do various things. You can do cooking classes. We recently did a backyard kirtan, wisdom talk, and people came and listened who have never heard of Krishna consciousness before, and they came into books because that's what interested them. And you can use your home in that way. And invite maybe an expert devotee to give a talk and lead the program. And in this way, you make your home a nice place. You can also use your home to have weekly or bi-weekly discussions. Like when I lived in Calgary before the pandemic, I lived in a very small apartment, and we still use that home for gathering in the living room to read Bhagavad Gita. And it was such a magical experience because we would come together and read, and the energy would just uplift you for the next week. It was just something that's, you experience. Just like if I talk about maple syrup. If I talk about maple syrup, and I talk about how it's made, how it's harvested, how it's stored, how it's sold, right? I can talk about these things, but unless you taste maple syrup, you don't know what it's like. So similarly, if you want to get into the practice of Krishna consciousness, unless we taste by actively engaging in the wisdom, we may not know what it's like. So the third one is to volunteer your resources. So if somebody is good at baking, you can bake cookies that can be taken on, book distribution, or if you have a car, then like what do you need for a car? Well, you need to have fuel, you need to pay for insurance, you have to pay to maintain it. So why don't you use your car in Krishna's service? So it is said that when you put in gas in your car and you're coming to the temple, regularly, or you're going on book distribution, that is using your resources in Krishna's service. And that doesn't require much, you're just transporting things. So now the fourth one is spend at least 2 to 3 hours a month to do something that's outside the comfort zone of the temple or your home. So if I were to go to the gym, and let's say I have a 2-pound dumbbell, right? And I lift the 2-pound dumbbell, and I keep doing that for 6 months in a row, will I become stronger? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes? So I have a 2-pound dumbbell, and I'm lifting that, doing bicep curls for 6 months. Yes or no? No. Because you're not going outside your comfort zone, right? So in Krishna consciousness, we may become very, relaxed. Okay, we come to the temple, we enjoy the kirtan, the prasadam. But then, in order to graduate and advance in our bhakti practice, we must do something that's a little creative that goes outside of our comfort zone, depending on our skills and mindset. So spending a couple of hours a month to go out and share Krishna consciousness, do something very creative, whether it's going to a yoga studio, doing a kirtan, having a book table, going on the street, or maybe being part of a Shastradhan project. These are different ways you can do it. So if we want to grow, we must do that, because I travel across a lot of communities, and the communities that are focused on wisdom and sharing tend to thrive a lot. Another is Shastradhan. So if you are able to sponsor the distribution of literatures, there are devotees here who can distribute them on your behalf. Or if you consider the supplies needed for book distribution, we need a nice book table and a stand. These all require resources. So if you're able to help that with that, great. Another one is taking courses. So just educating yourself, getting trained. So there's a course called Book Distribution 101. So who here likes free things? Raise your hand. Okay. Who here likes free things that is spiritual in nature? So there's a course called Book Distribution 101 by the BBT. It took me 2 days to complete it. It's self-paced. And it teaches you why the books and wisdom is important. So that's something you can do. And the last thing you can join ISKCON Ottawa's Sankirtan group of volunteers, where once a month or an odd weekend, kirtan in the park, doing some event where you go showcase this wisdom, go to some festival, Diwali Mela. There's so many ways to really calm down the ego and become more tolerant, because when you go out of your comfort zone, you naturally interact with people who say a lot of no a lot of times, which is good for your false ego, because your false ego likes yes all the time. And then you learn to tolerate, because you may be out there in the heat, or you might be out there in the cold a bit, or people may have something to say. Like I had this gentleman yesterday who said, I just feel your energy, and I feel like you're 18,000 years old, and you seem to be very calm, and you had 7 children 180 years ago. So it's like you have to tolerate these things. You have to just go in 1 year and go out and just tell them, please take Bhagavad Gita and absorb the wisdom and what we have to say. So in terms of Bhagavatam, there's a campaign. I was in Radhakund this year, where we took pictures with banners with the devotees in Radhakund and Jagannath Puri to showcase Srimad Bhagavatam, where we have a goal of 100,008 Srimad Bhagavatam sets. And in Canada alone, last year we distributed 701 Srimad Bhagavatam sets. So the whole set is Krishna, the whole body of Krishna coming home. And it is the most compassionate form of Krishna, because it doesn't matter whether you follow the principles or not. Like when I read Bhagavatam, I found out about Bhagavatam in a used bookstore in Kelowna, and then I would work my summer months in a small town in Alberta, between the Alberta and Saskatchewan borders at Humber Lloydminster. And that's where I read Srimad Bhagavatam, and at that time, I was not following any regulated principles. But if somebody had told me, hey, you cannot read these books unless you follow all the principles of Krishna consciousness, I probably wouldn't be here. So that is part of Krishna consciousness movement, and Prabhupada was very compassionate that you come here, you sit, you chant Hare Krishna, you read some wisdom, you get absorbed. So slowly and slowly, I started to absorb. And in a place like Alberta, which is not exactly vegetarian friendly, if you consider like a small 30,000 town, I became vegetarian. And my roommates, who are all like 60-year-old guys working in the oil and gas industry, they were like, you're not going to eat meat? Like, okay, this is very strange. So I just learned how to cook, and I wanted to follow the principles, because I said, okay, let me give it a shot. Let me see if it improves my life. And it did. So the Bhagavatam answered every question I had. And when I used to go to church, the pastor used to say, who am I, who is God, and what's my calling? And the Bhagavatam answered that systematically, that I am the soul, and God is Krishna, and my service or my calling is to lovingly serve Him. So it answers all of the questions that I had, and it really gives you more and more impetus to grow deeper and deeper. Just like we have an undergraduate program, a master's, and a PhD, we have the Bhagavatam, which focuses on Bhakti Yoga specifically in that level so you can grow further and further. So I encourage you, if you don't have a Bhagavatam set, there are various ways you can take a Bhagavatam set. We can come and deliver the Bhagavatam set. We can come and do an installation ceremony. And if you take a Bhagavatam set today, and if you're available tomorrow, I can come to your house and do an installation ceremony for free. So if you contribute towards Bhagavatam, and there's various ways towards contributing to Bhagavatam. You can take you can pay it in full today, or you can do like an installment where you can pay it over time. And this way you have Bhagavatam. We'll open, we'll do some kirtan, we'll read the preface a bit, and get you started on your Bhagavatam journey. So the Bhagavatam is a beautiful literature and has such wonderful examples on how we can purify ourselves. So I encourage you today that one thing you want to take away is if you don't have a Srimad Bhagavatam set, be a part of this campaign. Because do you think this wisdom is worth maintaining? Raise your hand. Right. So if you want to maintain the wisdom, we can do so through mass book distribution. And by you yourself having one of these books, you are part of that. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So I'll take any questions or reflections.
Yeah, I have. Sorry.
His hand is up. Yes.
I'm new and I'm learning. I'm being
Great.
introduced.
I'm new too.
Yes, I've read one book and I'm halfway through another one right now.
Mm-hmm.
Second Chances halfway through, and
Yes.
I read Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers.
Mm-hmm.
Is it in my best interest to get this one that you have in front of you first before I read this one?
Oh, you mean the Bhagavad Gita?
Yeah.
It's in your best interest to get everything.
Yes, I know, but I can't read everything at once.
Yes. I would say focus on one book at a time.
Well, that's what I'm doing now. I'm
Yeah.
getting through these ones here.
When I got the Bhagavatam, I read the first canto, and then I focused, okay, maybe I should read Bhagavad Gita. So I read Bhagavad Gita, and then I went back to Bhagavatam. But for me, I never, when I got here's a trick. You know there's inflation, right?
Yes, I know.
Okay. Everybody knows about inflation. So largely inflation hasn't touched the prices for books. It's been relatively stable. But I got, for example, Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is a PhD level book. And I got it many years ago thinking, I'm going to read this book, but I'm going to buy it now because in the future, shipping will go up and all that. So I got Chaitanya Charitamrita, which was $40 less than what it is today. So if you want to save on some money, you can just get all of Srila Prabhupada's books. And then, just like if there was a Ironman today, some of the roads were closed, the different markers, right? Like I need to do 10 miles, 20 miles, like that. So let this be like a marker. It's on your bookshelf, and then you're like, okay, once I'm done second chance, and I'm done Bhagavad Gita, I move on to Bhagavatam. It gets the next sort of thing. And then when you chant your meditation, if you do meditation, chanting japa, it's also good to chant in front of the books because there's spiritual energy in there.
How many volumes are there in this?
There's 18 volumes.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's be a sage page by page. So in 5 years from now, you're going to be 5 years older anyway. So why not be 5 years older with the Bhagavatam?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Mr. Wayne, we met him on the streets last Saturday.
Oh,
While
wow.
he got those two books while distributing the books. Well, we were distributing the books last Saturday.
Oh, wow. Wonderful.
So, and he's very intellectual.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very genuinely searching for the answers.
Answers, yeah.
And do you relate to the books?
Yeah, I can relate to the books. I find it difficult to try to pronounce many of the, I guess, Hindi words,
Sanskrit words.
Sanskrit words.
That's okay.
But I'm very happy that you have an interpretation underneath
Underneath it,
that I
yeah.
can follow.
Yes.
But really what drew me in when I met
Marucha.
Marucha was the sweet ball.
Oh, okay. Nice, yeah. Well, here's an example.
That was a good opener for me to bring me in.
Yeah, that's a good example. You were on the street and you got to meet us and be in this environment. So we're trying to give Krishna consciousness. That's the Krishna consciousness movement. We want to be inclusive for everyone. Srila Prabhupada has built a house where everyone can be a part of. And when we are part of that, we make Srila Prabhupada happy, we make Shishi Gorditai happy, and in this way we can go to bed tonight saying that we did some seva in Krishna service.
And I can live less in Maya.
You can live less in Maya. Perfect. Yes, you're learning.
You got the.
You got the basics down. Yeah. So wonderful. Any other questions or reflections here? Yes. Do we have time, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hare Krishna. Thank
Hare
you for
Krishna.
your association and time.
I'm just an ordinary person. You can ask
We
Shantanu.
always feel like connected with Prabhupada's leniency, so thank you for your time. So my question is, like on the Canada Day distributing the books, so one of the person he said that what if divine does not exist? Like Prabhupada was asked the same question that Prabhupada said that we celebrated the Ekadashi and the festivals, but how to talk with a person who doesn't know about Ekadashi and festival, how to get them believe that.
Yeah, so if a person doesn't follow Krishna consciousness, it's not appropriate to talk to them about Ekadasi.
Yes, how to get them believe that read this book, that will be the manual of human life.
Right, so you have to gauge people's interest, right? So a person may not be into reading books right away, but at least they may be interested in some association. So you can at least invite them to come to a place where you're having a reading or there's a discourse or there's a kirtan, to get them interested, to get to know them better. And oftentimes when you distribute a book, what I like to do is I'm here to distribute a book, but I'm also here to connect you to some classes that are free of cost that you can join. This gives them impetus to understand more, because oftentimes we have a loneliness epidemic in Canada and also the US. People are struggling with finding good association, place of belonging. So we can make ISKCON that place of belonging as long as we have that personal connection and say that I'm not here to distribute a book to you and take a donation, but rather I'm here to also distribute myself. And that's what I always do, distribute myself by saying that I'll hold your hand and help you answer your questions. And I've done that with so many people recently where, they feel benefit, and that person may not be from, an Indian background or whatever, but you're just there for them. And that's what people are looking for most. Actually, if you look at it, our philosophy, I'm going to say something totally opposite of what I just said. Our philosophy is not as important as the practical manifestation of our philosophy, which is spending time with people, giving them good association, giving them care and attention, and then bringing Krishna to the center. Then people will value that more. Because I can chuck a Bhagavad Gita in a person's head, right? But what good of that is going to do, right? So you have to apply the principles of the Gita by sharing the wisdom, but also personal association, very important. Personal connection. So if a person, if he's an atheist, right? Oh, I don't believe in anything. Okay, this is your competition. Bhagavad Gita, take it, learn about it.
And a true master knows how to speak to the masses.
Yes, a true master knows after a lot of practice how to speak to the masses. Srila Prabhupada was very expert that when he saw his disciples' mothers, he did not say Hare Krishna, he said good morning. Who's from, Jewish background, right? He's like, okay, well, just say good morning, because Prabhupada was very practical in that perspective. So one of the disciples said, Prabhupada, if we go and play at the beach in the water, isn't that Maya? And Prabhupada said, Krishna, if you go out there and you look at the sun and the moon, which is both like considered eyes of Krishna, you're going into the beach and splashing the water. The water is Krishna says, I'm the original taste of water. So if you think about Krishna in that instance, there's nothing wrong in going and having fun. And that's there that they learn with that. So, yes.
When we distribute books, do we have to worry about whether the books will be disrespected or people take them and not read them, or
So if you consider the sun, right? The sun lands on different parts of the world. The sun lands on beautiful Lake Louise, or it lands on the St. Lawrence River, or the Rideau Canal, right? we were distributing books in Orissa, probably one of the most filthiest places in the whole world. And I was barefoot because that's the culture, distributing books in Bengali, Bangla, and Odia, those two Indian languages. And there was this person there who said, I don't follow any regulative principles, and I've never read Bhagavad Gita. He's from a Bengali background. So I told him compassionately that, this knowledge is there for everyone, including yourself. Don't feel like you're unqualified to take this, because Krishna is Jagannath, the Lord of the universe. So you should take this and be proud of it. And just like the sun appears on dirty places, similarly the Bhagavad Gita is pure. So we must not consider, that tends to be an objection, but we should not consider that, hey, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm old, I'm young, I'm clean, I'm not clean. Just take the Gita and absorb it and let the regulations come later. That's the move we go in book distribution. And actually, when I was distributing books, I had to take a picture with this gentleman. There was a huge bucket of onions. It was like a 5-gallon bucket of onions, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to do this. Yeah.
Some people often say, well, I don't want to take these books because I may disrespect them by not reading them, or my place is dirty. So that's the reason they don't take. But generally, I tell them, like you said just now, that the real disrespect is not taking them.
Yes.
Because Krishna, the Lord, Supreme Lord Himself, and all the holy teachers, they have painstakingly translated them.
Yeah.
For who?
For who?
For all of us.
All of us.
Real disrespect is not taking that wisdom.
Yes. Yeah, real disrespect is not taking the wisdom, because Krishna has given this for everyone, because Krishna is the Lord of everyone. And the mind tends to come up with all these excuses. Oh, let's not do this, let's not do that. Why go out there and do this? Why, be interested in sharing? And sharing can be in different forms. Like if you're a philosopher and you have a PhD, then you may share Krishna consciousness in a different way at the university versus how you distribute, say, at a yoga studio, or versus doing a street festival, or going to a home program. So there's different ways and different comfort levels you may have, but do some of the following, and the primary one being distributing books to yourself, because the mind's always going to say, why read it, why take it, but why not take it? Why not try this? Because if you're not going to try this, you're going to try something else in this world, and it's not going to get you anywhere, right? So we may spend, people spend thousands of dollars going to, Hawaii or Caribbean to some yoga retreat, right? But you can spend a fraction, $350 for a Bhagavatam instead. I remember when I was in Calgary, there was this big guru coming to town with a big beard and all that, and he was charging, $650 just for a 3-hour session. And he's going to speak from some obscure Vedic literature. And I was thinking, for $650, and people were flying in from Vancouver and all over the country, and I said, you can get a whole library of Srila Prabhupada for that amount, for the whole life of yours, and consider this as a spiritual investment. We invest in a lot of things. We invest our time. Obviously, thank you all for coming here on a rainy day. But if we invest once in a life in these literatures, they will last for generations and will give us, supreme happiness and bliss. So consider taking this. Yes. Are we going a little bit beyond time?
That's okay.
That's okay. Okay, thank you for making this accommodation, because I travel across the country. It's a bit austere, and I would appreciate if I could spend more time. Yes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I have one question. In 10 offenses of holy name,
Yes.
it says one of the offenses to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy. So, and on the other side, I keep on hearing even on lectures that we should distribute Krishna, we should distribute more Harinam, and we should preach, we should. So how do I?
Yeah, you have to Srila Prabhupada said, in order to understand this, it requires proper guidance and suitable sort of intelligence to understand that. So one thing for sure is, I had an example where I was in Jagannath Puri this year, and there was this gentleman from a Brahminical background, like a priestly background, and he was criticizing Srila Prabhupada and all of these things. And to me, I was shocked to hear a person he was in front of the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, ironically, and he was criticizing Prabhupada, and I said, I was so shocked, and I left. Because either I leave or I cut my ear off or something. But if you look at the offenses, when I talk to a person on the street, the more, if you read Srila Prabhupada's books, the more emphasis is on giving. But what I may not do is go into the intricacies of explaining the glories of Krishna and his holy name to people. There's a difference between me giving Krishna in the book form and say, just take Krishna. Here, take Krishna in the form of the prasad, take Krishna in the form of the holy name. What does the holy name mean? Engage ourselves in the service of the Supreme, Krishna, right? So that is okay because people are curious to know. And we may say, well, how are these people austere? Well, when a person gives a little donation, even though it may be $5, for them it's a big deal because they could spend, it's a huge deal, right? They're spending money on so many different things, but to spend on $5 on a cause they're not sure about, that is their austerity, which allows them to appreciate the acharyas. Because the Srimad Bhagavatam also states that if one gives their attention, or even some monetary donation, or do some sale, or give you some fruits, because they're serving a great Vaishnava, the amount of credit they get is millionfold. So therefore, we should be very tactful and not going very deep into explaining things to people who are faithless, but just gauge. If a person there are two types of people. People who are innocent, who are curious, who don't know anything about Krishna but want to learn more, and the people who are envious. So the envious people who may criticize and say bad things, we don't have to spend time with them. It's the example of a ripe fruit and an unripe fruit. So you have bananas that are ripe, you have bananas that are unripe. So obviously you're going to eat a ripe banana. Similarly, you find a ripe banana or ripe fruit in terms of a person who's open-minded, curious. Like yesterday we met this lady with crystals and she came to us and she was like, oh yeah, I love this. Her name was Wanda, right? And she got Bhagavad Gita and Hiding Unnatural Happiness and Higher Taste. And I was like, wow, she's super into it. And to her, I have no problem explaining this is mantra meditation, and this mantra helps you get free from stress and anxiety. And you teach her the mantra and let her go on a merry way. So, yes.
So, on one book distribution, we all went. My husband was with us, and one person told him, stopped him, and actually he was distributing the Rath Yatra flyers.
Okay, yeah.
And the Sankirtan was going on. So one person stopped him and he was telling, who is this Krishna? You show me right now. I want to see you. You show, who is this? How do I believe this?
Yeah.
He was coming to home and sharing his experience. So I was wondering what should we, and the whole congregation, we were all gone.
So he was left behind answering.
He was.
Yeah, I mean, people, you're giving your time with a person, and it's good to spend time with people because you're giving your good association with that person, and they may need that association. And who is Krishna? You can explain, like Jagannath is the Lord of the universe, and you can give a quick explanation.
He answered, you come with me, I'll show you.
Yeah.
The temple.
You can explain the Rath Yatra as a moving temple. Like I heard a Japanese person, when I was at the Calgary Rath Yatra, he looked at that and he's like, hey, moving temple. I said, yeah, that's a moving temple. Right? So you can be creative in how to explain Krishna consciousness because, again, we're in this world for a temporary time. We have certain talents and skills we have. And let's use that in creatively explaining Krishna consciousness to people so that it is a fun way for them to get in touch with the Supreme Person. Imagine if there's a rich person who has a child, that child gets lost, and you somehow go and find that child and bring it back to that rich person, won't he be happy? Right? So Krishna is the richest person, and all the people out there are all his children. So for great difficulty, after millions of lifetimes, we bring one person towards Krishna. Won't Krishna be happy with us? It's the same. That's why we share, and that's why we care.
I have just one question.
There's a lot of questions. I should just start charge. Just kidding.
Regarding the Bhagavatam, so what is the correct way to read Bhagavatam? It says like Pivatras Malyam. So, but we forget the stories of like Niyush and Yayati Maharaj, like the creation, Canto 2 talk about the creation.
Yeah.
Like in the Kalyug, the memory is very steep, we don't.
Yeah, so don't worry about the memory, because oftentimes we may feel like we may read this great text and not remember everything. That's okay. What you need to do is constantly absorb the wisdom, because many of the concepts are repeated because Srila Prabhupada wants to emphasize some things, right? So the best way to read Bhagavatam, in my opinion, is to read a little bit every day. Because what happens is, I used to read once a week for like 1 to 2 hours, but then the next week comes and I forget what happened, because again, Kali Yuga brain. So best is to read a little bit over time and make a vow. I'm going to read 2 pages every day or 5 pages a day. If you read 7 pages a day, you'll finish the Bhagavatam in 5 years, right? So, and some of the, you get to the 5th canto, there's not very many purports, so you're just reading pretty quickly. So just make a vow to read every day, and if you maintain that, you'll make quick progress. And don't worry about, remembering everything, because you won't be able to do it. It's very difficult to remember each and every character in the novel. But as long as it's giving you a daily reminder, it's like daily brushing of the teeth. You're brushing your consciousness with wisdom. Yeah. So consider everybody taking Srimad Bhagavatam. If you don't have a Bhagavatam set, we have Bhagavatam sets available. How many sets do we have available?
We have so many.
We have so many. Okay, so maybe you can help with, freeing up some space, taking Bhagavatam home, and begin your spiritual sadhana journey where you understand things as they are, and you grow with Srimad Bhagavatam. And it will be the best, way in which you can connect to Krishna on a daily basis. And when it is minus 20 outside with lots of snow, you can cozy up with the Bhagavatam inside. So, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anuttama Prabhu. That's really great. I know sometimes people think that we are some kind of salesman trying to sell books or something. Just to let you all know, everybody here has a full-time job. They have their own families, their own business. Temple is spending, like I know I am the Sankirtan leader of this temple. So temple is spending more than $45,000 every year to print these books. 45,000 Canadian dollars. And it is shipped from USA, Los Angeles. And that's only the money. Apart from that, we have to do a lot of work storing them. As you know, we don't have much space at all to store the books. We store at somebody on devotee's house, and we bring them, go back and arrange them. It's a constant organization. And we are doing all these things not to benefit anything, to benefit ourselves out of this, but to give something valuable, something of real value to others. Srimad Bhagavatam is the perfection of God realization. It is called Bhagavad Tattva Vigyan, the real science or the perfect science of God realization, or Atma Tattva Vijnana, or the perfection of self-realization. If we can read Bhagavatam before we die in this life, that we can be perfectly self-realized. That is for sure. Every day we have Bhagavatam classes as well. So I request, if you do not have a Bhagavatam set, please don't, Prabhu said $350. Actually, we made a determination. We give Bhagavatam set only for $300.
Okay.
$300 Bhagavatam set. It is available in English, Hindi, Gujarati, Russian, French, and we have one Odia Bhagavatam set, Marathi. So we have in so many languages. So if you do not have a Bhagavatam set, please do Turkey. You don't have to pay it right away. Even if you pay it through 1 year, in the course of 1 year, 2 years, that's okay. We're not here to take your money. We want to give something of real value. So please consider it. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
So if you consider the $300, it's less than 2 cents a page. So if you go to Staples, how much does it cost to print a black and white? 19 cents or 12 cents, right? So this is less than 2 cents a page. It's acid-free paper, and it is built to last 500 years. So you can pass this down to, you know, any of your friends or the next generation, and keep the Bhagavatam, you know, in time. So thank you for considering this request. Hare Krishna. And if you have more questions, you can chat with me after doing prasad.
Yes. We'll have some kirtan now.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
एवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदश्री श्रीमद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्रजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर सदश्री श्रीमद भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज शिल प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री मथुरा धाम की जय। श्री नवदीप धाम की जय। श्री जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय। गंगा माई की जय। यमुना माई की जय। भक्ति देवी की जय। तुलसी देवी की जय। संवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। गौर प्रेमानंदे। All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatahini. Thank you so much. I have a couple of announcements. Today's Sunday feast is sponsored by Tapan Vishwas. I have to tell about this devotee. He was here. He came one day when I was working from the temple. He came and he said that he was here 35 years ago. He was surprised to see some changes, not like major changes. He was surprised to see some changes in the temple room. He appreciated how the devotees are continuing the legacy generation after generation. And he said he became very old. He was very young with full hair. He became bald. He used to go to the university. Now he has grown up kids. So he was really appreciating how we are, uh, continuing the tradition. So he donated for the Sunday feast today. And the weekly garlands are sponsored by Jyotish Prabhu. Thank you so much. Garland to Jyotish Prabhu. And, we should all be grateful to His Grace Anuttama Prabhu. He came all the way from Toronto just for this purpose, just to encourage us to read Srila Prabhupada's books, take them first, read them, and also share them. So thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Tomorrow we have a morning program. Every day we have a morning program. Monday to Saturday we have morning programs at 4:30 a.m. till 7:30 a.m. followed by very nice, delicious prasadam. So you're all invited to all the morning programs, but especially tomorrow, His Grace Anuttama Prabhu will be giving a class from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. at the temple. It is available on Zoom as well, but it would be more beneficial for all of us if we can attend tomorrow's class. So please remember, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. tomorrow in the morning, if you can make it. If you cannot, but for any reason, you can always watch it and on Zoom. If you want to know the Zoom link,
On the website.
it's on the website.
ISKCON
ISKCON or those who are in the groups, those who get email weekly bulletin, they already have it. So you can log in on the Zoom to hear from Prabhu tomorrow. And next Friday, this coming Friday, Saturday and Sunday, we have a visiting guest. His Grace Sureshwar Prabhu is a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. Imagine, when he called us and he said he wanted to come, we didn't know him very well, but we came to know through other devotees that he's a senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. He's 80 years old. When I heard this, I mean, if I were him, I would not do this. I would not travel. He lives in Arizona. He lives in Arizona. He's flying all the way to Ottawa, and he was very eager. He requested the temple management here that please arrange some programs. I want to share the glories of Srila Prabhupada. I was really like, it's real compassion, isn't it? Vaishnavas are real compassion. They're going completely out of their comfort zone. 80 years old man, can you imagine? We don't want even to move out of our house if we are 80 years old. But these devotees, they're not doing for earning money or going in a job trip or something like that. They're coming to share this knowledge with others. For what? He's spending all his money to fly. So please remember, Friday in the evening at 6:30 p.m. and Saturday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. and Sunday the usual program 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. He'll be giving. He'll be describing. We will put that poster in the group as well. So please do come and hear from His grace. So that is next. And did I forget anything? Every Friday anyway, we have kirtan programs at the temple or in the park if the weather permits, from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. And every Sunday, without any exception, we have this open house festival from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. So you're all invited for all the programs. And did I miss anything?
Thursday Gita.
Thursday, we also have online sessions. Thursday, we have Gita class online. If you cannot make it to the temple, we don't have anything in the temple on Thursday, but we have an online session from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m. So you can always join here. Yes. Thank you so much. We will close the curtains shortly. We'll take darshan of Shri Shri Gaurnitai, and we will serve prasad right after. And if you want to, please consider taking this. On behalf of ISKCON Ottawa, I pledged 30 Bhagavatam sets in this campaign. Bhadrapurnima, when is Bhadrapurnima, Prabhu?
26th September.
26th September, which is like little more than a month, we have time. Before that date, we want to, I pledged 30 Bhagavatam sets on behalf of ISKCON Ottawa. If you do not have a Bhagavatam set, please do not listen to the excuses from your mind. This is really beneficial for you. And they will stay generation after generation. $300, it's only the printing cost. There's no profit to the temple at all. And we are spending much more than that. It's actually in one way, it is a loss to the temple. Because we are spending $45,000, more than that. And including all the hard work by the devotees to organize the books and the store. We are going back and forth. We should also appreciate Roy Prabhu, who is conducting these programs every month. I know some of you already have Bhagavatam sets. You can ask those devotees. They're really relishing it. It's like a story, as Prabhu said. It's story, but embedded with philosophy. That's the best combination. Because hardcore philosophy, we cannot continue reading it. It's like somebody hitting us every second. But when it is embedded in a story, that's pleasing to hear and read, and at the same time you get a lesson from it. So that's the best combination. So please consider it. If you already have it, you can also sponsor it so that if some devotee or somebody who cannot afford to take or pay the full price, we can still give it to them so that they will be benefited. Please consider it. Thank you so much.
You can also get the benefit of distributing Bhagavatam on the Bhadrapurnima. We can
Yes.
do that.
It is said that it is very, very auspicious. Of course, it is auspicious to take Bhagavatam set any day. But it is especially more auspicious on before Bhadrapurnima if you want to take it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.